JKB back with another episode. Today on the show I'm reviewing Hades. Thank you to myself for buying a copy. Hades is a roguelike dungeon crawler. As for the story of Hades, if you're a huge fan of Greek mythology, you'll be in heaven playing this game. You play as the immortal prince of the Underworld, the son of Hades, and you're trying to actually escape the clutches of Hades himself. As you progress through the story, you'll be introduced to many of the Olympians, such as Zeus and Athena and even Poseidon. At the beginning of each level, these Olympians will meet you and give you a boon. Now, the boon itself is just a fancy little term for giving you an enhanced ability. So you really can stack these things up and create your own unique playstyles. As for the main gameplay loop, everything in this game is all about upgrading your character, from its abilities to the weapons that you even use in the game. Everything. The choices you make at the end of each of these levels also come into play with what special abilities you'll be using as you expand that playthrough. There's so many aspects and levels to this game that I just couldn't explain everything in a single review. I will do my best to bring up the things I absolutely loved, and if I have any negative things, I'll say that at the end of the review. The first weapon you get in the game is a sword. Now, each of the weapons have different abilities that are tied to them, of course. Some are going to be close-up combat, and some of the weapons that you will unlock will be ranged combat. Everything comes together to create one of the most unique combat situations I've had in a roguelike since I don't know when. It's one of the best experiences I've had in terms of its combat. In terms of the gameplay, it is exhilarating playing this game. Combat is challenging to a level I haven't played in quite some time. It kind of reminds me of Diablo 3 in a sense, not necessarily the combat itself, but the way that the abilities are attached to your weapons. Like I said, the Olympians will give you boons at the beginning of each level. These will give you choices. So you might see an ability have three different options. The ability might say, okay, shoot electricity out of your sword, or shoot electricity out of your dash, or leave around some sort of twister effect that affects the enemies so they can't move when you do a dash. So you have options in this game. So many options that some might say it's too much. And of course there's different types of weapons. So you start with a sword, and then all of a sudden you get the bow and arrow, and there's a shield, and then there's also a spear, and it just keeps going and going and going and getting deeper in its abilities. So these boons and these abilities that you unlock as you go through the game will make you more powerful, but also change up the gameplay, because now these combos are switched up because of the abilities themselves, not necessarily the weapons. Now, the weapons all have different feels. Like I said before, it's all about ranged combat and close combat in this game, and you definitely want to fool around with the weapons in the training area to see which one really works for you before you go into the dungeons. Now, another unique thing I need to bring up right away is that you will face bosses in this game, but what's so unique about it and made me wonder how did they do this, because you don't see this in other roguelike games. Usually there's no real boss encounters, because when you die you'd have to go through them again. Now in this game, the unique part is every single time you die and go back to the beginning of a dungeon, you will get to that boss again, and that boss will say a different line of dialogue. It kind of reminds me, in a subtle way, of playing the Lord of the Rings Shadow of Mordor games, where you would run into a character and they would remember you. In this game, you get the same feeling. The game feels alive because the characters remember you, and they remember the battles that you got into. So you don't have to worry about it just being replay, replay, replay. It gets to introduce something new to you every single time you go through a dungeon. There's also the ability to unlock abilities for your character that remain on the character. You do this in his bedroom himself. Now, at the beginning of the game, I didn't really explain that you start out in a hub world. In the hub world, you'll have a whole bunch of stuff you can do. There's some secrets there, which I won't give away. You also will be able to upgrade many different things in the game based on visiting the hub world before you go into the dungeon. So this game has stacks and stacks of stats that you'll have to pay attention to if you want to build a perfect build for you and your playstyle. There's so many aspects to this game. It seems that there's like a relationship meter that has to do with talking to them in the hub world before you go into the dungeons. There's shops in the hub world itself. You're able to also decorate the hub world and change around certain things and make it kind of look the way you want it to look before you go into the dungeons. This game is insane. It nails every single aspect of the roguelike genre in spectacular ways. Now, I could spend literally another 20 minutes telling you why this game is incredible, from the art design and the visuals that are absolutely stunning, all the way to the voice acting, which is some of the best I've ever heard in a game, period. I mean, this is top-notch acting. I can't believe how good it is. You've got an amazing script with amazing characters, amazing abilities, amazing combat. The only thing I can't say is, amazing is really the level design, but that's this type of game. In a roguelike, you're going into a dungeon, and what's going to really change about that? It's supposed to kind of look the same until you get further into the game. And when you get further into this game, it definitely, I don't want to give it away, but it definitely changes up the gameplay elements of the world itself, because at the beginning of the game you have traps you have to avoid. You can also use the traps on the ground to take out your enemies, but further in the game, man, does it get difficult based on the environments as well. The boss battles are so tricky at times, but as you upgrade your character and do amazing amazing abilities, the game just opens up, and it is a world that I wish I lived in. It is amazing. So overall, I'm going to give the game a 10 out of 10. It's the best roguelike I've played ever, based on its combat alone, but on top of it, you've got incredible voice acting, an amazing story, an incredible set of tools and abilities that just go on forever. And that is why this is able to be played over and over and over without it getting stale. It totally reminds me of the same gameplay loop in Diablo 3, where the levels change a little bit here and there, you find secrets along the way, but for the most part, you're building up your character. In this, it's the exact same thing. The story and the relationships with the characters I find very cool and unique. At times, I'm thinking I should maybe befriend this one by giving them a little treat, and I'm not giving it away here, but you're able to find things in the game itself and give it as sort of a gift to the people on the hub world. I'm trying to not give it away here, but yeah, do that for sure. Make sure you befriend them and talk to them every time you go to the hub world, because you will get better abilities and secrets and all sorts of things. So overall, 10 out of 10. Highly recommend this game. If you've got the Nintendo Switch, I highly suggest to go and pick this up. Definitely do not miss out on this game. If you've never experienced a roguelike game, this is the one to start at. It's a 10 out of 10. Go get it for the Switch. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe to my channel. Hit the bell icon to get notified when I upload new reviews, which seems to be every couple of days now. I've released 42 videos since, I believe, the 28th of February, and I want to thank everybody for the support, and I'll see you on the next episode of JKB.